So, in the beginning of the story, we are shown a group of students who had stayed late at school because of their project work. They were all friends. While they were working, suddenly the lights went out. Bored and with nothing else to do, Shinose makes a paper doll in the candlelight and starts telling them a story. It's about a little girl who disappeared from an elementary school. People believed that the school was haunted as there had been a strange murder of a nurse there, followed by the disappearance of 3 children on the same day. 2 of the bodies were found in the school a few days later, but the 3rd child was never seen again. No one knows what happened to her. Shinose then says, "The interesting thing is, our school was built after demolishing that same elementary school." As she finishes her sentence, the lights come back on, and at that moment, their teacher arrives, telling them all to go home. Before leaving, Shinose stops them and says, "Wait, don't you want to hear about the ritual related to that story? It's believed that if you make a doll resembling the missing girl, recite some spells, and tear the doll apart while holding it together, the friends who do this will never be separated. If we perform this ritual, we will always stay together, just like we are now hearing this." Everyone agrees to perform the ritual. They all hold the paper doll together, recite the spells, and tear it apart. Everyone was happy and excited, thinking they would always stay together. But suddenly, a strange earthquake hits the school. The ground beneath them starts to break apart in a terrifying way, and before they could escape, they all fall into the earth. Where they fell was a dark place, but they noticed some light coming from afar. Their teacher leads them toward it, and soon they realize that, because of Shinose's ritual, they have somehow ended up inside that same elementary school from her story. There was no way out. They began exploring the place to understand what was going on. While searching, they found a book that described the same ritual. It said that whoever performs the ritual ends up in another universe, one that looks exactly like the haunted elementary school. In this cursed universe, the mystery of the missing girl is hidden, a story no one knows. As they were reading this, they suddenly heard strange noises coming from outside. One of the girls went out to check, but someone hit her on the head with a hammer, smashing her head and face. She died instantly. Seeing her gruesome death, the rest of the children panicked and ran in different directions, getting separated in the process. Naomi, one of the girls, tripped over something and fell down. As Naomi stood up, she felt something under her foot, and when she looked down to see what she had tripped over, she was horrified. There, lying on the ground, was a decaying corpse, crawling with insects. The sight of it made her faint. From this, they realized that they weren't the first ones trapped here after performing the ritual. Others had been trapped before them, and everyone who ended up here was killed. Naomi's friends, who were with her, quickly took her to the medical room and bandaged her up. Naomi always carried a diary with her, but her friend noticed it was missing, so she left to search for it. While she was gone, Naomi regained consciousness and assumed that her friend had abandoned her. Struggling to get out of bed, Naomi found a strange pendant on the floor. As soon as she picked it up, 2 spirits suddenly attacked her. She noticed that both spirits were of small children. Frightened, she fought them off and ran away, but didn't get far before collapsing. At that moment, she found her friend again. Believing that her friend had abandoned her earlier, Naomi lashed out, calling her awful names and refusing her help. Hurt by Naomi's accusations, her friend ran off, upset. As soon as she left, Naomi started hearing strange noises that caused her ears to ache, and then she fainted. On the other side, we see Satoshi and his sister. While they were running through the hallway, they came across many corpses scattered around. Satoshi's sister was terrified. She needed to use the bathroom, so Satoshi took her there, but once inside, she mysteriously disappeared. Panicking, Satoshi tried to leave, but before he could, a spirit appeared in front of him with blood dripping from its mouth. Terrified, he screamed, and the spirit vanished. Next, we see Shinose, who was still reading the book, trying to find a way out. According to the book, she discovered that the school's coordinator was responsible for the deaths of the nurse and the 3 children. One child's fate remained a mystery, but when the bodies of the other 2 children were found, their tongues had been cut out. No one knew what the coordinator did to the 3rd child, and that secret remained unsolved. However, through the book, they were finally able to learn. They also discovered that there was a ritual that could send them back to their own world, but the page explaining that ritual had been torn out, making it nearly impossible for them to perform it. Determined, they decided to search for the missing page. As Shinozaki stepped out of the room, she found Naomi's diary in the hallway. When she opened the diary, she saw a picture of Naomi and Satoshi together. They were very close friends, but Shinozaki also had feelings for Satoshi. Seeing that picture made her furious, and she decided to hide the diary. Inside that same diary, Naomi had also kept the page related to the doll ritual. After pocketing the diary, Shinozaki and her friend entered another room where they saw one of their classmates. She was fearlessly talking to two spirits. Having befriended them, she wanted to find out what was keeping these spirits trapped in this world, hoping to free them and send them to the afterlife. She explained this to Shinozaki and her friend. However, her friend was terrified of the spirits and told her to stay away from them. Hearing this, the spirits became angry and lashed out at their friend. In a fit of rage, they lifted her up and smashed her against the wall so hard that her body shattered into pieces, which stuck to the wall. Shinozaki and her friend were left in shock, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Meanwhile, Naomi, who had fainted in the hallway, woke up to find herself in the bathroom. When she looked up, she saw her friend's dead body hanging from the ceiling, looking as though she had committed suicide. Horrified, Naomi couldn't understand what had happened to her friend. She began to blame herself, thinking that she had treated her so poorly that it drove her to take her own life. Stunned, Naomi sat in the bathroom for a long time, overwhelmed with guilt. That's when Satoshi arrived. He had been frightened by his sister's strange behavior in the same bathroom earlier. Seeing Naomi's injured foot, he realized she couldn't walk, so he picked her up and carried her. At the same time, another classmate entered the room where the spirits had killed the girl by smashing her against the wall. Seeing the shattered body and blood-stained walls, he went mad. Shinozaki and her companion, meanwhile, entered a strange room that had a fridge and some tapes inside. When they opened the fridge, they found several tongues, and they realized that these tongues belonged to the children whose spirits they had encountered. It seems that if they return these tongues to the children, their souls will be made whole again, and the spirits can finally move on to their world, the world of souls. Meanwhile, we see Satoshi's sister being chased by the principal's spirit. To escape, they hide in a room, but in that same room, the spirit of the principal finds the crazed boy. In a fit of rage, the principal's spirit kills the boy by smashing his head so hard that it completely crushes. Satoshi's sister is horrified, and just before she screams, a little girl appears and takes her to safety. The scene then cuts back to Satoshi and Naomi, who have made their way to the same room, where Shinozaki is. Shinozaki gives Satoshi the tape she found, and when they play it on the computer, they discover that the video was made by the person who wrote the ritual book. The writer's book hadn't previously mentioned the disappearance of the little girl, and in order to complete the story, the writer had performed the same ritual to enter this world. He believed that once he uncovered the truth about the girl's disappearance, he could perform the ritual again and return to his world. Unfortunately, after arriving here, one of his companions was killed by the principal's spirit. Seeing this in the video terrifies the four children. The writer goes on to explain that he won't be able to complete the ritual, because in order to do so, all the trapped souls in this world must first be freed, which he was unable to accomplish. In his hands, he holds the very page containing the ritual to return to the real world. As the video ends, Satoshi is able to figure out where the paper is. They now know the method to return home, but they need all the pieces of the paper doll they had torn to enter this world. Each person still has their piece, except for Naomi, who had put hers in her diary, which is now lost. Luckily, Shinozaki found Naomi's diary earlier, and she hands Naomi a piece of paper, claiming it's part of the original doll. However, we can see that Shinozaki is lying. She did this out of jealousy because she knows Satoshi cares about Naomi, and Shinozaki wants to be with Satoshi. She realizes that if Naomi's piece is fake, she won't be able to return to the real world, and Shinozaki and Satoshi will remain together. After taking the fake piece, Naomi believes she now has the real part of the doll. She goes with her partner to the souls whose tongues they had found in the fridge. As soon as they hand over the tongues, the souls seem happy, their bodies complete, and the lights in the school come back on. However, Shinozaki and her partner notice that the souls haven't disappeared. They haven't been freed from this world, meaning there's still something that's troubling them. When Shinozaki asks the souls touch her, showing her a vision. In the vision, they see that it wasn't the school director's soul who killed the two children, but the evil spirit of the young girl they had recently learned about, the one who had gone missing. And not only that, the girl was still killing people. To end this curse, they had to stop her spirit. Shinozaki and her partner set out to confront the girl's spirit. They soon discover that she had already captured Satoshi's sister. The evil spirit had tied Satoshi's sister to the bed and stabbed her body with an umbrella before cutting her tongue with scissors. By the time Shinozaki and her partner arrived, the spirit had already done all of this. Seeing this, Shinozaki was paralyzed with shock, but as soon as she regained her senses, she quickly grabbed Satoshi's sister and fled. Behind them, the spirit laughed, clearly pleased with her gruesome actions. As they tried to escape, they were confronted by the school director's soul, who now wanted to kill Shinozaki. Her partner bravely stood up to face the director's soul, taking the blow himself to protect her. After removing him from their path, the soul moved towards Shinozaki again, summoning the last of his strength. Her partner grabbed a stick and stabbed the soul. With that, the director's soul was defeated, and Shinozaki was saved. But sadly, her partner couldn't survive, having already been fatally wounded by the earlier attack. The scene cuts to Satoshi and Naomi, who are now face to face with the evil girl's spirit. Both of them are terrified. Satoshi, gripped with fear, runs away, but Naomi is too scared to move and hides in a nearby room. Inside the room, she finds several CCTV footage recordings. Looking at them, she is reminded of her friend who had died in the bathroom. Wanting to understand the reason for her friend's death, Naomi rewinds the CCTV footage. To her shock, she discovers that it was she who had killed her friend, not because her friend had betrayed her. It wasn't just because of jealousy, but because that evil child's spirit had fully possessed Naomi, taking complete control over her. Under the spirit's influence, Naomi killed her best friend. Realizing what had happened, she broke down in tears, devastated by the thought of how she could have killed someone so dear to her. Sobbing, she begged her friend for forgiveness, saying, "I never wanted to hurt you." I don't know how this happened. While she was still crying, her friend's spirit appeared behind her and said, "I know you didn't do it on purpose, and I forgive you." Just then, Naomi's eyes caught something on the computer screen. It showed that the evil spirit was about to attack Satoshi. In a panic, she ran out to save him. The scene then cuts to Shinozaki, who is sitting with Satoshi's sister's body in a secluded area. Suddenly, a message from a spirit appears, telling her to go to the basement. Meanwhile, Naomi, who had rushed out to save Satoshi, found that as soon as the spirit saw her, it fled immediately. Naomi realized that the locket she had picked up from the ground was what scared the spirit away. When they opened the locket, they were shown a vision of the past one that revealed all the mysteries of this world. In reality, the evil child's mother was a nurse at the school, and the school director had pushed her down the stairs, killing her. The child witnessed her mother's murder, and when the director realized this, he strangled the child and killed her too. To cover up both murders, the director hid their bodies in the basement. From that day onward, the child's spirit began to wander the school, marking the beginning of the curse. Over time, her anger grew so powerful that it created a parallel universe. After learning this story, Naomi understood that if they could calm the child's spirit, they might be able to set things right. They then looked at the pendant again, and the vision continued, showing how after the child's death, her spirit tormented the director so much that he went to the basement and cut out her tongue. This is why whenever the child kills someone, she cuts out their tongue as revenge. Now, Naomi and the others realize that to end this, they need to go to the basement and resolve the situation once and for all. They enter the room where they find Shinozaki. As soon as they see the child's corpse, it suddenly sits up, coming back to life. Satoshi, in a full-blown panic, picks up a nearby rock and starts hitting the child's head repeatedly until it's completely crushed. Naomi and Shinozaki watch in horror, with Naomi yelling at him, "Stop it, Satoshi," because what she could see, but Satoshi couldn't, was that the evil spirit had possessed him. In that state of possession, he wasn't hitting the evil spirit, but his own sister. When he realized what he had done, he was shaken to the core. Amid all of this chaos, the child's spirit appeared behind Naomi and started stabbing her with scissors, saying, "I'll kill you all so my mom won't be alone." In the spirit world, hearing this, Naomi quickly tried to reason with the spirit, saying, "Look, your mom would never want you to kill anyone. Taking revenge on us won't bring her back. It's not right." But the spirit wasn't listening and was about to attack Naomi again. Just in time, Naomi pulled out the pendant that had made the spirit disappear before. When she opened it, inside was a picture of the child and her mother. Seeing the photo, the spirit became emotional, and at that moment, she remembered her mother. As the memory of her mom came back, the spirit felt like her mother was hugging her from behind. The warmth of her mother's love calmed her anger, and with that, the curse began to lift. As the curse broke, the world they were in started to collapse. Naomi slapped Satoshi to snap him out of his shock, telling him they had to escape. They began searching for the object that would allow them to perform the ritual to return to their world. All three of them completed the ritual, combining the torn pages of the doll, and as they did, the ground started to shake, and they were blinded by a bright light. Finally, they found themselves back in their own world, at their school. The first thing we see is Naomi, who is safe and has her paper with her. We also see Shinozaki sitting nearby. In the other universe, both of them had been holding Satoshi's hand, but now, in the real world, Naomi was holding one of his hands, while Shinozaki held the other. But Satoshi himself hadn't made it back to the real world. He didn't have the real doll's page. He had seen Shinozaki tricking Naomi by not giving her the real paper, so he secretly switched his paper with Naomi's, sacrificing himself for her. Shinozaki's entire plan had failed. She was left to live her whole life in regret, knowing that her actions had cost her the one she loved. And with this sorrow, the story comes to an end.